You're very welcome to today's episode of Skin Deep by Karina Tolan. I have with me the latest and newest appointment to Environ Skincare, Dr Matthias Aust, recently appointed medical consultant. You're very welcome, Dr Matthias. It's absolutely fantastic to sit here with you today. I'm really excited to have our conversation, especially after hearing your presentation yesterday. It was like Nessun Dorma for me. It was so exciting and empowering, and I'm really eager to put that across to all of Environ's customers and clients that just adore the product. So let's take a little deep dive into it. So tell us about your background with Environ Skincare and your work with Dr. Des Fernandez to date.
So, Karina, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm super happy to be here. Yes, our story started almost 25 years ago. I've been a very young doctor in my training in South Africa, and at this day, Des was already super famous, and we got connected in the hospital where I worked, in the Groot Hospital, and me being a young male surgeon, so I've been super skeptical on creams, on skincare, and everything what is minor invasive. So I strongly believed in the blade and in the operations, but I thought all the rest is maybe a bit waste of time. Okay. And Des said to me, you know what? That's exactly the kind of person I'd like to work with. And so he encouraged me to do research, clinical as well as scientific basic research onto the products as well as on needling. And this research was not sponsored at all by Environ, but just by the funds I had. And I was super deeply impressed of all these results, which ended up in many international prizes we won, and in many international publications, and as well as in a book which we wrote.
Okay, fantastic. So it was revolutionary for you at a pivotal point in your career to have this influence in a form of Dr. Des Fernandez, and to learn so much about the power of topical formulations, as well as obviously the knife and cosmetic surgery, etc.
Yes, absolutely. You are super right. It was like, for me, this has changed my life, because nowadays, 25 years later, I can tell you it's definitely not all about the knife. Yeah. A knife maybe can tighten skin. A knife maybe can cut off things. However, it will never change a skin condition by itself. Okay. So I strongly believe in the combination out of that.
Yeah, it's that synergistic approach, of course, that gives that result. And I think what we're seeing coming through now in the world of cosmetic surgery is a much more natural enhancement.
Exactly. Especially within the last years, it's all about regeneration. And that, as you said, it's a synergistic effect. But maybe even if you start early enough, you can avoid the knife completely.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant, fantastic. And tell me about your work in Germany. So you are still practicing, operating?
Yes. I'm a plastic surgeon. I run my own private clinic. We are a team of 3 plastic surgeons. We are mainly doing aesthetics, but we are also very, very happy to offer as pro bono, to treat burn patients.
Okay, fantastic. Actually, in your presentation yesterday, you spoke about how health insurance in Germany will cover the cost of Environ Skincare. That's huge, and only Environ Skincare within the treatment for burn victims.
Yes, that's right, Karina. It's after 10 years of basic research, we've seen how tremendously the results are for burn scars by treating them with the products of Environ, as well as with needling. And because of this published research, and because of the prizes we won, I think it was the highest prize worldwide for treating burn scars, the German insurance took into their catalog the treatment of burn scars with needling and Environ Skincare. So we are very happy about that.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm going to say, correct me if I'm wrong, that burn scarring is probably the most difficult scarring of the skin to treat.
Yes. Yeah. Burn scars by itself are probably the worst scars you can get, and by that it's also the most difficult scars to treat.
Yeah, fantastic. So when this new role was put to you, what was your reason for saying yes when this new role with Environ Skincare was put to you?
Well, again, with that, I've been in the beginning a bit skeptical just in terms of time, because I'm a young father. I have a 4-year-old son, and I'm very busy in my clinic. However, Des invited me to go to Finland, to the North Pole, to talk to me there, and he's so much for me, and he's also the godfather of my son. And so when he asked me, and he's changed so many things in my life, I just couldn't refuse. And I've been super, super happy, and I love what I'm doing.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see why. And tell me, what are your plans for the brand, and where do you feel you can be have the greatest influence?
Well, I think that is super easy for me because the brand is around since 30 years. That means 30 years for me means two things. They have lots of experience, plus that by itself shows already that it works, that it's not like advertising or not like a trend which somebody follows. If you're there for 30 years, that it means you're using pure science. And the key part is vitamin A. And vitamin A will always remain the key part. The wonderful thing about Environ is that they do not stand still. They try to improve. And that's also what you see when you see the journey of the last 30 years. After starting with vitamin A in a step-up system, they added antioxidants. Yeah. After antioxidants, they added peptides. And now we are busy to even maximize the formulations and the results. And we are also focusing on penetration enhancement. So how you get these wonderful products even better into the skin.
Fantastic. Let's talk about vitamin A, that incredible molecule that, of course, Dr. Des Fernandez and his team were pioneered working with in topical formulations back in the 80s. Palmitate gets a lot of shade, particularly from medics. And tell me, why do you think that might be?
The reason, therefore, is 100% of this big misunderstanding of vitamin A. So there are two parts. The one say, no, don't use vitamin A because it's too aggressive. These people are simply talking about the acid form.
Yes.
And there's the other part saying, well, the fat-soluble form cannot work on the cell by itself, so it's a waste of time and a waste of money. And they are both absolutely wrong. And this is what I'm saying now is not my personal opinion, but this is super scientifically researched and proven. The fat-soluble form, the palmitate form, it's true that is not aggressive for the skin. However, every person on this planet, so you as you sit here as well as I, we have the ability to transfer the fat-soluble form by an esterase in your body, by an enzyme, into the alcohol form. And this alcohol form, the retinol, is then transferred via retinol into the acid form. This comes by an oxidation. So that takes place in everybody, every day, every second, within a small part of a second. What people, one of the biggest myths around is that now people say, yeah, but we use the more active form of vitamin A. That is also something which is scientifically not right. In our body, of this 100% of vitamin A, 90% is the storage form, is the palmitate form, so the fat-soluble form. Just 3% is the alcohol form, the retinol. 3% is the retinol, and 3% is the acid form. So whatever you put on your skin, whether it's the retinol form or the retinol form, if your body sees that's more than the 3%, it's going to be stored. So it's going to be transferred and converted into the fat-soluble form. So you do not get quicker or better results by applying the more active form. And this is very, very nicely written and published on Medline.
And, you know, myself and my team, we have been doing these human trials for the last 15 plus years, and that's exactly what the evidence would say. Now, something I want to ask you, is it true to say with vitamin A that in order for it to be effective, you need to hit a therapeutic dose of vitamin A? Like, it's the amount of it as opposed... Sometimes I feel that people think the more aggressive it is, it has to be working. Kind of if you want to go back to when you were a very young doctor under Des's influence for the first time, you thought you had to have the knife to be effective. And then Des was going to go on and teach you how there is that place for a more gentle approach. I think with vitamin A, people feel that if they're not irritated and it's not going to work. But what I feel is that when they use a more irritating form of vitamin A, they can't use enough of it to actually hit therapeutic doses and have the changes occur because it's too irritating.
You're explaining it perfectly, Corinna. That's exactly how it is. It's all about the international units.
Yeah.
And when we are born, we all have a very high amount of vitamin A in our skin. By aging, and that starts very, very early by the influence of the sun, pollution, stress, etc., the vitamin A level drops. And by dropping the vitamin A level, also the receptors for vitamin A at the membrane of the cell are decreasing. So if you then apply immediately either a too aggressive form or a too high amount of vitamin A, you will end up with exactly what you tried or what you explained, which I call a retinoid reaction. That means redness, stiffness, maybe flaking, itchiness, feeling inconvenient. This vitamin A reaction by itself is nothing dangerous. However, it's not what you'd like to achieve. So what we are doing is a so-called step-up system. We try to prepare the skin to become to the best possible level of vitamin A. But that doesn't necessarily mean the highest level, but the best possible for your skin. So it's exactly as you described.
For them. And then another thing that I feel people don't realize and that doesn't get enough press is that palmitate is actually photoprotective. And the only form of vitamin A that is photoprotective. As you go up to the more irritation forms, they're actually light sensitizing. So it's obviously a massive plus to use something that's going to protect your skin from the sun as well.
Again, you're super right. Vitamin A by itself, so the fat soluble form, the palmitate form, has a sunproof factor from in between 4 and 6. So by itself already. Plus, what also you must not forget is you need the fat soluble form to penetrate the stratum corneum of the skin. So the fat soluble form penetrates much better than the water soluble form. So you're absolutely right.
Okay, super. And then also, what we're trying to do with our vitamin A molecule the whole time is to refill or undo the damage that living that day has caused. And by living, I mean daylight. So doesn't it make sense that you would use a type of vitamin A that you can use every day because you're exposed to light every day?
Absolutely right. Plus, it's also about using different forms of vitamin A. So it's like the combination which
Synergy.
brings the best result.
A red flag for me is if I was using a type of vitamin A that I could only use once a week when I'm exposed to light every day.
Absolutely.
And then, although we did say that palmitate, yes, it is not or a less irritating form of vitamin A, I have patients who get a negative response to palmitate because if they are deficient enough, they will get a negative response and I will have to manage that journey for them.
Exactly. And that's what I try to explain. Start slow and low. You cannot be allergic to vitamin A in your skincare. That's something very important. If patients react on a very slow dose already, it's exactly as you said. It's not that they are allergic. However, they are so deficient that they even maybe need it more than you and I. And therefore, you need a good beauty therapist who is able to prepare like a treatment plan to get the vitamin A level solved out.
Okay, so you spoke about that waterproof barrier to skin, that lipid barrier in the skin, and then you spoke about the fat-soluble form of vitamin A, how you need that to go in. Let's speak about vitamin C. I don't know if maybe I don't speak about it enough, but I don't feel like my patients know how much vitamin C resides within these formulations. And of course, it's a very unique type of vitamin C because Des has encapsulated it to make it fat soluble. So let's talk about vitamin C within the AVST and of course the Youth Essential line as well.
Yes. So vitamin C is essential for your skin. Why? Because of two main reasons. The first reason is it's an antioxidant. What is an antioxidant? I'm sure everybody of you knows that. An antioxidant has the ability to protect the skin before it gets damaged. So when we are out there, we have stress or by UV rays, we are creating free radicals. And these free radicals, they are unstable atoms. And these atoms have one electron too little. So they are aggressive and they set up a chain reaction by grabbing an electron out of your cells. And by that, you start this photo damage. Antioxidants are like sacrificing themselves and keeping the free radicals away from damaging your skin. That's the first part. The second part, exactly as you said, vitamin C is also very important for the triple helix in the fibroblast to produce a healthy collagen, which is stable and remaining.
Okay.
However, a big problem with vitamin C is that ascorbic acid, so what everybody believes is vitamin C, is first of all water soluble, but also unstable. So you by just adding the ascorbic acid into your product, that's not going to give you nice results. So therefore Environ created a very special molecule, which is vitamin C on a fat-soluble form. And when you apply it on the skin, so this one part, the palmitate form, is going to be taken away, and then it's water-soluble. And this is a stable molecule.
Okay,
so they're very clever.
So clever, so clever. And for me personally, it's the only type of vitamin C that doesn't break me out. Water-soluble vitamin C causes spots and irritation on my skin. So, and then it's true that with each step within the ABST and the Youth Essential line, that the vitamin C dose is also increasing.
Exactly.
So not only are we incorporating different forms of vitamin A, we're incorporating acetate and propionate in the Youth Essential line, but we're also upping the dose of vitamin C and then incorporating retinol as we continue on in our journey, which it is a journey.
Exactly. Plus, it's not as an antioxidant vitamin C, so there's a variety of many, many different antioxidants. Also vitamin E, which is the fat-soluble form, for example, very important for the cell membrane, and thousands of other antioxidants around. And Environ is trying to get the best formulation of these antioxidants in terms of shelf life, in terms of stability, and all these important parts.
Fantastic. So the paradox of vitamin A is, of course, it makes your skin so extremely healthy that then it's actually very difficult to get any more vitamin A into the skin. So it's at that point that we must introduce our microneedling tools. Now, something about microneedling, again, a lot of mixed messages out there, so I'm really happy to have you here to clarify. But I understand that it can be confusing because the tools all look very, very similar. But in fact, they're very different because the depth of the needles are going to be very different. So let's talk about microneedling to enhance penetration of topical formulations, which is very unique because really that's all it's doing. I often say this tool alone doesn't do anything. It just opens the door for your topicals to do all the hard work. So let's talk about microneedling at a depth of 0.1 or 0.2 millimeters and exactly why it's so important and when it's so important and when you like to introduce it.
Actually, you don't need me at all here, Karina, because your knowledge is super and it's exactly as it is. So the more healthy your skin is with everybody, the more difficult is it for any kind of product to penetrate. We are talking here about 6% of the product which is able to penetrate in a healthy skin. So and the more healthy the skin gets, the more difficult it also becomes. So what we are busy now is trying to find solutions to find penetration enhancements. And therefore, needling is a fantastic tool. Even, it's exactly as you said, if the devices look similar, like the roller of 1.0 looks similar than the roller of 3.0, the pathway, how it works, is a complete different one. What I'm encouraging all of my patients is the home use of a roller with a needle length of 0.1 or 0.2. So the aim of this product is simply to prepare some small puncture canals in the stratum corneum, in the upper layer of the skin, to get the products to penetrate better. Again, you pointed it out perfectly. The roller by itself has no effect at all, but in combination, it's a fantastic tool.
The client is just going to get more for their investment.
Exactly.
They'll absorb more product.
If you do it, the best would be do it every day, and don't do it in front of the television. Because stay at the mirror and you really have to see where you are and
you have to concentrate. Because it's quite a dangerous little tool if you were to, particularly when working around the eye area, I'm so glad you pointed out, do not do it in front of the telly. So That's 0.1, 0.2 millimeters. And then, of course, microneedling at a deeper depth for collagen induction, which, of course, you are a master of. Let's talk about that and the effects of that on the skin.
Yeah. So the barrier is the basal membrane. In the moment when the needle penetrates up to the basal membrane, you will set some small bleeding points.
Yeah.
And these bleeding points we do need for starting the wound healing cascade. And the wound healing cascade is bringing us the effects, what we are calling medical needling.
Okay.
And that's, even if the two looks completely similar, that's a complete other pathway. And therefore, you have to prepare your skin, you have to clean your skin, you will need a local anesthesia cream, because I wouldn't call it painful, I would call it inconvenient.
Yeah.
And then you needle.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult to do it for yourself. There's an eye we are doing it by ourselves, but I don't encourage anybody else to do that.
Yeah.
By causing these bleeding spots, you get the growth factors to be released.
Okay. And again, microneedling, I think, of course, first of all, to say Dr. Des Fernandez is a pioneer of microneedling, as he is many things. He started a trend before it was ever the cool treatment that it is today. And then there's been a lot of variations on it. But I'm kind of feeling like even when they add in different techniques to the microneedling, I personally feel that a lot of time it's the microneedling that's doing all the hard work, really.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's a pinprick.
Yeah.
And so there are many competitors on the market. You can say on the one hand side, a pinprick is a pinprick, whatever you're using. But on the other hand side, there are so many other important parts. For example, some people say, but we have more needles, so it's more effective. It's actually the exact other way around. Think about, Corinna, why is a fakir able to lay on a nail bed? Because you have so many nails on that nail bed that the nails do not penetrate through the skin. Right. That's why he can lay on it. So it's even better to have less needles than too many.
Yeah. And isn't it true that in your findings during your work with Des Fernandez that you found skin when treated before medical needling with topical vitamin A and oral vitamin A got much better results?
Exactly. We have, that also has been part of my research, basic research. We found out that just the vitamin A topically, and that was a research just about body oil, is increasing the thickness of the epidermis of up to 22% in average. Wow. Statistically significant.
Yeah, for a molecule that gets pressed, that it actually thins the epidermis, and there you go.
Yes, so
that
true.
It actually thickens it. So let's talk about. Of course, I want to go back to your own work in surgery. How important is it, again, much like microneedling, we speak about how important it is to prep the skin and get the skin as healthy as possible. I would often say to my clients that it's like heart surgery. If you're overweight, your doctor would ask you to lose weight and come into the surgery much more healthier and potentially have a much better outcome and better recovery. It's the same with microneedling. We just spoke about results are so much better. So no matter what type of microneedling you're having, make sure you're topically treating your skin with vitamin A, like palmitate, not irritating it with retinoic acid beforehand. But your own plastic surgeries, tell me, when would you advise your patients to start on like the Body Duo or AVST before surgeries, and how soon post-surgery will they reintroduce?
It's all about wound healing. Okay. So the better you prepare the skin before a surgery, the quicker it will heal, the less side effects like swelling, bruising, etc. you're going to have, and the less visible the scars are going to be. So I encourage all my patients before surgery to be either on the skincare or on skincare plus needling. Yeah.
And of course, a lot of surgeries are changing the contour or the shape of the skin. So elastin is so important for the skin to be able to adapt to that, and elastin will improve when using these products as well.
Yes, and you pointed something very smart out. You're just changing the contour of the skin, but you're not changing the texture of the skin. And therefore, it's a synergistic effect, what you do have, if you combine it.
So let's talk about some of the Environ formulations, because I know that's exactly what my clients will want to know. Talk to us about Revive and Mass, let's say. how exactly does Revival Mask work? How come it's known as a facelift in a jar within the industry?
Yes. So if it comes to the Revival Mask or peptides in general, we found something. It's not actually, it's not us. It's a wonderful professor from Harvard. Her name is Srivastava. She found out that when you stress cells, you're not killing the cells, but stressing them by reducing the pH. I'm talking now about, as we sit here, our pH is somewhere in between 4 and 5. We are reducing the pH somewhere in between 2 to 3. We are stressing the cells. And the cell is like anxious that it's going to die. So this cell is setting free something which is called early growth response. That is a hidden DNA which is set free by the stress, the chemical stress of, like, say, the Revival Mask or a cool peel. And by that, you have an increase of your body own growth factors, especially TGF beta 3, which leads to scar-free healing. And that's why you can, well, I'm not sure if I would call it a facelift in a bottle. It's a super nice sentence, and it goes in the right way, but it's definitely regeneration in a bottle. Yes.
Which in its own right is formidable for a topical formulation, to have that such a tightening effect on the skin and a regenerative effect on the skin, and to be able to trigger that wound healing response.
Absolutely, absolutely right. And the nice thing is, if you're talking about Revival Mask, anybody can use that because it doesn't have vitamin A itself in the product. So it's like, for people who are already on vitamin A, it's a wonderful add-on, like using it once or twice a week. And if people are not on vitamin A already, but they want to see like quick results, they can start immediately with that.
Yeah, and then of course the vitamin A client is going to get more out of their Revival Mask, going back to the same way with microneedling.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell us that we've seen Environ use some quite unique ingredients in their most recent product launch, which is the filler cream. And it has been a huge product, resales in particular. And that's how you always know if a product is performing well with resales. And that will be the case with filler cream. Is there anything more like that coming? Or, you know, what are your thoughts on the filler cream?
Yeah, again, the filler cream is a fantastic product because, again, if we want to clear up with myths which are around, or with just commercials, many people speak about, for example, hyaluronic acid, what we apply into our creams and you put them on. Hyaluronic acid by itself is such a big molecule in terms of kilodalton that it's very difficult or even impossible to penetrate through the skin. So what the filler cream is not like putting molecules on your skin which we want to get penetrate through the skin. It's a cream which has peptides, which is telling your body to produce fat cells in the face. Most of us will say, okay, we don't want fat. That's on the body. In the face, you want that.
It's volumizing.
So, exactly, and that's why this is a fantastic product. I agree. And yeah, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk too much about this, but there's a couple of new things coming up in September. For example, here in the UK, we are going to launch the so-called cool peeling, which works on a quite similar way, but I'm not going to talk too much about that.
Super.
Keep it as a secret.
Oh, that's fantastic. We always love to hear what's on the horizon, what's coming down. So excited for that. So let's talk about your protocol for rosacea and acne. Des has a very unique but a very, very effective protocol for treating problematic skin conditions. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm treating rosacea and acne on the same way. It's a mixture of two products. The one is Dermalac and the other one is the body oil. And this in combination brings a very, very nice result to very problematic skin conditions.
Yeah, I call the body oil and Dermalac the Beyonce and Jay-Z of skincare. They are the ultimate power couple.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely.
And you know, I would go to say Dermalac, I feel, is probably the most underrated product in the whole line. It is powerful, it's dynamic, it does so many things. It's not particularly expensive. You know, I think it's maybe 100 ml bottle, but you can use it for pigmentation, you can use it as a skin softener, a skin sterilizer, a very mild exfoliator. It is a stunning product.
Do you know what I do? I take the Dermalog on my feet, put my socks on, go asleep, and the next day the feet are better. So
Absolutely.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
It's part of my daily life routine.
Okay.
For the
And tell
body.
us what else, what products are you using in your skincare? What are your go-to?
Yeah, well, me as being very old already, of course, I'm using the Use Essential range. I'm using the 4 Plus plus the Defense Cream Plus. And as a cocktail, as an add-on, I'm using the filler cream. I'm using the peptides, so the advance. I'm using Retinol 1, as well as the night cream.
Okay,
I mix it all in my hand, just one pump of everything, and that's it.
Yeah. And do you microneedle?
Yes, I love it. I really do. Cosmetic needling, honestly, I should do much more because I'm just sometimes too busy, or
Same.
I prefer the glass of wine by night. But the medical needling, I simply adore. It's fantastic.
And I know for me personally, when and I say this to my clients the whole time, I don't mind them being non-compliant with their home rolling system, because then when they are compliant, it's like, amazing the results.
It is.
You know?
And if you start once, you don't go back.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true.
Absolutely. Well, Matthias, it was such a pleasure to meet you, and thank you so much for your time today. I am really excited, but there's never been a day in my 17 years working with Environ Skincare when I haven't been excited. I've never once felt bored. It is an incredible skincare line, and I feel like you're going to be a very welcome addition. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share my results with you. Thanks,
Thank you.
Karina.
Thank you.